So that's what I don't understand. It's like, we all know it was a blessing from God that this happened. And so to have the Pope, who is closest to God, say that this is wrong and disgusting, and I don't even understand it. I can't comprehend it.
Welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. This is Farley Boyle, and I have the pleasure of introducing not only our first Girls Gone Gritty guest, but she also happens to be one of my very best friends, and her name is Krissy Lefebvre. She is one of the most overqualified humans on the planet, whether it's her legal eagle background. She's, responsible for mergers and acquisitions with very high profile sports characters. And she also is a model and has a
was a model.
Well, you're still a model citizen to me.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Her hubby is Ludovic Lefebvre. He is a renowned French chef. And I have to say, she's the great Oz behind his curtain. It takes a lot. It takes a village. And Krissy is a village in every sense of the word. There's really nothing that she can't do. She's helped me so much with the evolution of Chase for Life and legitimizing me on all legal ends. She just got us the rights to Seal's Bring It On to kind of make us a little more valid. But the real reason that we have her as our unbelievable guest today is we share an incredible bond. And that bond is we have children together. And it might not be, I was not the surrogate. We're discussing surrogacy here. I was the egg donor. But, there's a big debate here. And we are the winners of this debate because our story is real. And she ended up with twins, a boy and a girl. And we're going to kind of take you through this little journey and how kind of rift or miffed we were when we saw that the Pope recently tried to put a ban on surrogacy. So I'm going to introduce you to Krissy and let her kind of take the stage. Hi, Pooh.
Hi, Krissy.
Hi,
Krissy. Welcome to Girls Gone Gritty.
Thank you
so much for being our first guest. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. The kids are like, did you ask to be on it? Because I keep making them listen to the show. I said, it just makes me so happy to hear Farley talk all the time. And they're like, so when I said I was doing the show, they're like, did you ask her? I was like, no, I didn't ask her. She asked me to stop.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you have to let our viewer, our listener kind of understand the trials and tribulations that you went through because you wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey.
My journey, a condensed version of my journey. At 35, I was diagnosed with cancer and found out that I would be needing a hysterectomy and wouldn't be able to have children. And before I did that, I harvested some eggs and Ludo contributed his portions. And we had some embryos that were sitting in a freezer until we could reach the place that, we were able to afford surrogacy. Because from the medical cost to the emotional cost to, the cost to pay an oven to cook your bread, it's very expensive. So we went through that process and, thanks to Hugh Hefner, I was allowed to be able to afford that process. And
we forgot to mention that she was a very, she played, I can't even say it. She posed for Playboy. But it was really because she was so proud of just being a female, even though her body wasn't allowing her to kind of do what she'd been put on this planet to do. But, she's a woman and she was proud of her parts. And before she had to kind of get rid of some of them, I think that was,
No, it was after. So it was
after.
I was on The Apprentice and I made it 12 out of 13 episodes. And after the former president fired me. Stupidest mistake in his life. You're fired.
He wanted her to move to New York City, and she was just not going to have that. So he kind of understood that was not non-negotiable.
Yeah. So he fired me, and in my practice of law, I had negotiated multiple celebrities contracts with Playboy. And I knew the West Coast editor really well. And she was like, well, how did you do? She's like, I know you can't tell me, but is it interesting enough for a cover? I was like, yeah, I think it's interesting enough for a cover. So we negotiated a contract, and I was able to get paid the same way that the celebrities got paid, and which would allow us to have, go through the process of surrogacy and hopefully one day have our children. So after we did that, and we'd gone through 2 failed adoptions already. We'd gone through a failed Chinese adoption, and we had gone through a failed adoption in Indiana, where the courts gave the baby to the foster mom, who had only, the baby was only 4 months old. And the foster mom had filed for bankruptcy. Their house was in foreclosure. The husband
biologicals.
Her husband was 52 weeks arrears in child support for his own kids. She had a criminal record for stealing formula, so clearly she can't afford to feed the baby. Both of her parents had died in their 50s. Both of her parents had died in their 50s from heart disease, and she, at the time, was, I think, about 280 pounds and was on heart medication and pain medication for her back. It wasn't a life for the child. The parents had agreed to allow Ludo and I to adopt the baby, but she went into early labor. And when they went into labor, the father had given her cocaine to numb the pain. And so the baby was born with drugs in its system. So the baby went into the foster care system. So then I had to start a fight in the foster care system. The judge ultimately decided, and this was their ruling, that Ludo and I were the picture perfect Hollywood couple. And therefore, if this child was anything less than perfect, she would have a disappointing life with us.
Disturbing.
I'm so sorry. That's disturbing. It's so hard to adopt.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
One list at a time.
It's crazy. So we could have, I don't even know what to say. I imagine if we look for this girl now that was 14 years ago, I'm sure she has her own child at this point. If she's still alive, there was just no way. Their house was in foreclosure. I don't know how any responsible judge does that. All of that aside, I truly hope that child had some chance. The state wasn't giving her that chance, but
it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be.
No.
We had the same situation in China. We got tied up in paperwork, and then somebody that I knew had turned in their application at the same time I did, or actually I think 6 weeks after me, and they all of a sudden had a baby. I'm like, well, how do you have a baby? How did that happen? And they said, well, you just got to pay. I'm like, I can't afford to pay. Extra? Yeah, and it was $20,000 extra, and they were able to jump the line. So when I called the agency, I'm like, I don't understand. This is crazy. It's been 36 months, and they said, oh, we have a child for you. And they sent me a child with a horrifying cleft palate. And, they said, you can take, we have a child with disabilities available for you right now. And it was so hard to have, I wanted a child so bad. I did not want to say, oh my gosh, this child's not perfect. I don't want to take it. But, as my doctor, so many people were like, you're literally buying a lifetime of medical bills for this child. And that's not what you signed up for, because that's not what you went into this. You didn't go into this saying, I want a special needs child. And the fact that the agency has screwed up and they're going, oh, here's a baby, take it. It was such a moral dilemma for me. I felt so horrible. I don't know, how many days I cried going, oh my God, why can't I take this baby? What's wrong with me? I have to help this baby. And they're like, you don't have to help this baby. That's not what you went into it for. You're not mentally ready for that. You've been so sick yourself, and now you're going to do this. If that's what happened when you had your own child, you'd take care of it. But because the agency screwed up and they're just trying to satisfy their check the box, it's not fair to you. So I made a really hard decision, and we just elected not to move forward with that adoption. And, it was like trying to figure out how to make surrogacy happen at that point. And so, as I said, when I got fired from The Apprentice and the opportunity came to show what God gave me with a little help here and there, I did it.
And
when was that? When was that, Krissy? What
that was in 1996.
Okay.
So 1996, we filmed in 96. Yeah.
hired by Trump, hired by you.
Yeah. I know. I should name the kids Hef.
Thanks, Hef.
Yeah. So, so we went through a process. We had, we had harvested eggs before my hysterectomy. And so we had some embryos waiting for us. We found a surrogate. We did 2 or 3 it all becomes a blur at this point. We did 2 or 3 tries with the first surrogate, and none of them worked. And
2. I think we did 2.
No, these were still my eggs.
Me. Oh yeah. Okay.
This was before you.
Got it.
And I remember being in New Jersey for the beach volleyball tournament on the shore, because I was working for the AVP at the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out that, the last transfer with the surrogate didn't work, and I'm crying my eyes out, and Farley's like, it's okay. And I'm like, but I don't have any more eggs. And Farley's like, in the Farley way, eggs? I got eggs. I'll give you eggs. It's no problem. No problem. I'll give you eggs. And I still feel like it's like a movie script. Then you cue front. So I said, well, I think maybe you should talk to Patrick. Cue front door opening. Pat walks in. Hey, Pat, I'm going to give Krissy and Ludo some eggs so they can have some babies. It's like, cool. You got a beer? Like that was literally the conversation.
Sounds like my brother.
It was literally the conversation.
Well, you know what? I mean, he walked in the door. We're in a rental because we were renovating our house. And, Krissy was like, it was an emotional situation. And I really think the reason that we were awarded was because it came from my heart. Like I saw my friend devastated that this was, the end of the road for her. And I was like, no, actually it's not. You and I kind of look alike, and on paper we're pretty identical. And I'm lucky enough to be able to have the children I have. I'm kind of done. Like I had 3 girls at that moment. I wasn't planning on having any more.
This is like 10 years later then, right? So if it was 1996, so that would be like 2006 you're having this conversation, just so we frame how long you were going through this whole thing, Krissy?
Oh, shoot. No, you're 2006. I'm sorry. 1996, I was still in college.
Oh,
listen,
that's
see,
okay. That's okay.
Menopause brain. I heard you guys talking about it's menopause brain.
See, you have baby brain, even though you didn't have to give birth, and so we have the same.
I just
problem.
have mom brain. I had 5 kids on a trampoline last night. I'm like, what?
Did you ever think of asking a friend for their eggs? Did it ever cross your mind, or did you always think, all right, I'm going to go find elsewhere?
No, I thought we were done at that point. I wasn't going to go just find a random.
No,
and so when Farley, in 2007 is when I posed for Playboy. So then it was like 2009, I guess this happened, because we'd been through the transfers with the other surrogate. So yeah, it was about 2009. And
so for like 3 years, you were trying to have the eggs and that, like.
Yes, with the other surrogate. Mm-hmm. Yep. We'd been through. I mean, it was about a year break first before I was emotionally ready. Then we found the surrogate. We went through all, the negotiations, which is part of what the debate is right now. But we had a contract and negotiations and things that she wanted and things that we wanted that were important to us. I'm glad that I had the first one because I learned a lot in the second one. But yeah, I mean, when Farley offered, it was not something that had crossed my mind at that point. I literally that day, I thought I was done. Like it was done. Like I need to start planning my life as double income, no kids, which would have been fantastic, but I would have always had a hole in my heart somewhere. And when Farley because she's Farley, I got eggs. So we went through this process, and, she's drugging herself up with hormones, and I'm there when goes in to have her eggs retrieved, and Chase tells everybody at school that her mommy's going to lay eggs so Aunt Krissy and Uncle Ludo can have babies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the process was pretty interesting because, we didn't really skip a beat. As soon as I offered, I saw hope in my friend who just had a hole in her heart. And it was like, hey, wait, we're not thrown in the towel yet. We're going to do this. And not only did we really do it, but it became like an obstacle course. So Krissy and Ludo are like flying in to do this with a fertility doctor that's in my backyard. And, every time we walked into the door of this fertility doctor's office, he was like a doom and gloom statistic guy that kept on saying my eggs were old, and statistically we were not like I was not the right donor. And I got so annoyed with him at one point. I just looked at him and I'm like, you know what? You are not God. Like, there are miracles that happen every day, and this is bigger than you. And we're coming in here believing in something bigger than you and bigger than science. Like, it's called love.
And how old were you at that point, Far?
I mean, if I had Abby in 2005, it was it 2010? I mean, I was
2009. 2009.
Okay,
Yeah, so you weren't even 40, and this doctor was telling you that
I was just not the right, I was 38. I can't remember exactly what
37, 38. Yeah. He was like, she's too old. I mean, he pulled me aside. I wouldn't recommend this. You need 22-year-old young eggs.
But doctors go off algorithms. All of the IVF doctors are all about algorithms, and they can't say, oh, it's great, it's going to work. They have to be doom and gloom because the success rate it's not always 100%, and there's problems, and it's not an easy road. And you're old. You're old. You're like, thanks, guy, but I'm not.
We needed to only hear it once. Okay, guess what? You're not the ideal, demographic. This is a little bit of an issue. I just want you to be aware up front of the odds that you're against. But we didn't need to hear it every single time we walked in the door. And that's what he did.
Well, and
you
so
guys had love. You guys had love
and that first cycle, he so stimulated you your first cycle.
Yeah,
I mean, her follicles were, for anybody who knows, her follicles were exploding on like day 4.
Yeah.
And they ended up having to retrieve the eggs early. And so none of them ended up being great. So you did it a second time.
Then we did it a second time and actually went into, we had several, right? And we froze some others. It was done correctly this time, but the second take didn't work with this particular
I think we had 5 embryos that formed. And then we put in 2 the first time, and that didn't work. With a new surrogate. And after that one didn't work, we took a little bit of a break. And then one day I was just sitting around with Ludo, and I'm like, I can't just leave 3 there. I can't. I have to know. And Ludo was about to turn 40, and we had already planned, like, he was going to get, the French man and his American dream. He was going to get his 1968 convertible Mustang. We were going to go scuba diving in Fiji. And I'm like, but I had to try one more time. And so I called our surrogate, and she was like, I would love to. And she did. And we put in all 3 because I'm like, what am I going to do? Put in 2? And then we just put in all 3. And in her contract, this is one of the funny, it's funny in hindsight. In her contract, she's not allowed to take an over-the-counter pregnancy test. It is only to be done by blood work in the hospital, because you can get false negatives and it can be pregnant for a day and not. So you have to wait whatever 8, 9, 10 days that it is to actually have a blood test. And I wake up one morning to a series of text photos that she had taken, I believe, 10 pregnancy tests, and they were all positive. But I was so mad at her, because I was like, I can't deal with this false hope anymore. Like, you're going to the doctor in 2 days. Don't do this to me. Don't talk to me. Like, just go away. Just stop right now. I didn't want to talk to her. And she's texting back and she said, look, I have 2 kids. I know I'm pregnant. I just know. Like, and so I had to take as many tests to keep proving it. She says, but I'll talk to you again after we go to the doctor. So she went in, and of course her numbers were off the charts. And then I guess she was about, when do you get the heartbeat sonogram?
Like 8 weeks.
Okay. So she was a couple, I don't know. She was a couple of weeks before that. Ludo and I were in Paris, and she had gone to the emergency room because she was bleeding. And we were all supposed to listen to the heartbeat in like 2 days. And she calls and she says, I just want to let you know, I was in the emergency room last night. I was bleeding. Everything is okay. I just need to stay in bed a little bit. She says, but I have some news for you. And she's saying it really melancholy. She's like, I have some news for you. So are you somewhere where you can talk? And I'm like, I'm in the middle of a department store in Paris. I said, just tell me, Kimberly, just tell me. She's like, well, there's 2 heartbeats. I was like, oh, shit. So it's not like it's a very slight heart, it was anyway. So
how hard is it? How hard is it not to, like, how hard was it, I should say, to have all your faith, your kids, everything like a phone call away and not be experiencing it like from start to finish?
I mean, it's definitely hard, and it's still something that I deal with. I don't ever, I never got to feel the miracle of childbirth because the babies came early as well. I mean, I was scheduled to be, we were scheduled to be in the delivery room, and she delivered early. And so it was, it was sad in that sense, but, the miracle happened, and it was a true miracle. So now we can get onto the really controversial subject about that oven that I used. So,
I mean, it's actually a very interesting debate. And, initially I was so annoyed that somebody would try to even suggest that they could ban surrogacy or that they wanted to implement some type of a ban, because it's such a personal journey for me, and it was successful. And, you have these beautiful children that you absolutely had every right to have. So, I'm going to tee you up on that note, Krissy, with your legal brain. And why don't you try to, kind of break it down for us a little bit?
Yeah, well, we had a very detailed surrogacy contract. In our contract, we were able to get a pre-birth order naming Ludo and I, the birth, the parents that would be put on the birth certificate when we went into the hospital and when they were born. I mean, I will say up into the time that we saw the birth certificate, it is still scary because the hospital has to participate in it. And, they have an order sitting in front of them. And I'm like, is my name going to be on there? It was no question that Ludo's name was going to be on there. It was the question of whether my name was going to be on there. But we had the order and we had 0 problems. Because I was just concerned because I wasn't there when the birth happened. So it's like, you're really asking this third party now. Like, we want this person who you've never met's name to be on this birth certificate. But, Kimberly, she obviously said these are not my children. I was here to help somebody, and I did that. And, we had a flawless experience with her, truly flawless. I went out for a couple of sonograms. I got to rub the pregnant belly, and, I talked to her a lot. We didn't become best friends out of it. I mean, I think maybe if we would have been in the same town and I would have hung out with her a lot more. I just think because there had been so many years of disappointment that I was afraid to get too close, because I don't think I could have handled another person's disappointment on top of my disappointment. So, and I asked her if she wanted, because people were like, oh my God, your surrogacy sounded so amazing. Would she do another one? And she said to me, absolutely not. She said, it was perfect. And I don't want to have any memory other than what this experience was. We have beautiful, healthy children. The donor was perfect. You guys were amazing. I don't want to have a bad experience. And I don't think that, I'll find that right balance again. I think because ours did come so much from love all the way across the board, that's what made it perfect for everybody.
I'm sure it's not that easy for everybody. I'm sure it doesn't always go as planned. I mean, someone all of a sudden carries the baby and is like, you know what? I'm not giving it up, because it becomes part of you. So you were so blessed with your whole experience. When Farley would tell me, I got chills head to toe. Like, this was so meant to be. It's those babies are yours, and can't imagine what was going through your mind the first time you went and you hugged them and you looked into both their eyes, a boy and a girl, and you're like, oh my God.
So hungover, I probably smelled like booze because they came early, and we were literally leaving like 5 days later. And so I first get a text from Kimberly and says my water broke. Next thing I know, we get a picture of Luca, and then it's like 25 minutes and then it's silence. And we're like, well, where's Rev? And then 25 or 30 minutes later, they send me a picture, send us a picture of Rev. And all of our friends come over because I'm changing my flight, and then it's like a midnight flight. And so by the time, I got in a car to go to the airport, hammered, just like, let me sleep on the plane. Thought I was going to miss my connection in Indiana. I got my rental car and I went straight to the hospital. So I'm sure I reeked of alcohol. And Farley, you know what I realized reading your mom's story? The kids were born at Penn State.
They were born at Penn State?
Yeah.
That is crazy. Penn State.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Awesome. So all the controversy that comes up around surrogacy, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And because I come from, I guess, what is a really beautiful experience that came from love. And I had a commercial surrogate. And my commercial surrogate did it because she felt like she wanted to do something in life. And of course she got paid. Why should she give up her God-blessed? I mean, she's blessed that she was able to carry babies and not have any problems. It is a commodity in that sense. Huh?
She gave back too. It's like, it's a personal choice. If somebody wants to be a surrogate, it's because they want to do something. Let's say they have unbelievable pregnancies. I probably would have been your surrogate if it hadn't been too close for comfort, because I happened to have great pregnancies. I loved being pregnant. My body felt good being pregnant, but that would have been just too bizarre. And the fact that you live in California and I live in New Jersey, the distance is great because, they're my family. You're my family. My kids look at Rev and Luca as like their half brother and sister. Mm-hmm. They feel like they're half siblings. I'll never forget when Chase went to school and it was like share and tell. And she's like, well, I think she actually held up a magazine cover, same magazine cover that I paraded into Dr. Blank's office when we were successful. And I said, oh, P.S., I just want you to know, here's a cover that shows Ludo and Krissy with their babies. And we did it. Thank you. But anyways, Chasey went into school and said, I have a baby brother and sister. And everybody's looking at her like, no, you don't. And the teacher's like, oh, I think that you're confused. And she's like, no, I'm not confused. I have a baby brother named Luca and a sister named Rev. So it's a beautiful situation. I'm sad that they didn't get to spend time with my mom, who just passed. They would really have loved to have forged a relationship with their other grandparents. Yeah. But, this has been a joy. And it's probably one of my most proud moments in life, that I could benefit my friend with the most beautiful gift of life. And, my kids are my biggest accomplishments. And so the fact that I was able to contribute to you is just, thank you, Lord, for giving me the ability to do it. And the same with the surrogate, Yeah.
So that's what I don't understand. It's like, we all know it was a blessing from God that this happened. And so to have the Pope, who is closest to God, say that this is wrong and disgusting, and I don't even understand it. I can't comprehend it. Somebody sent me that article. I said, I don't,
Child
how?
trafficking
Why?
is like a harsh way to kind of describe the experience when it comes from love.
Yeah. And it's also, it's the whole argument that's going on in our country right now. It's about what a woman can do with her own body. It's our body. It was Farley's eggs. Nobody owns her eggs but her. Kimberly owns her uterus. Stop trying to control women in their bodies. If you want to be a porn star for money, go be a porn star for money. If you have the ability to cook eggs for somebody else and create beautiful love, positivity that comes out of this, more power to you. I just don't understand how men think that they should control anything that has to do with a woman's body.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, but I think it works in both senses because being a surrogate and the Pope turns a blind eye. He's pro-life and he's looking at you guys are perfect. It couldn't have went any better. But you look at all these other situations of people that are out there, it's almost as if the whole surrogacy process is like having children being sold as merchandise. I had a friend in Tahoe, I remember years ago when I was skiing, she's like, I'm going to be a surrogate. And I said, oh, great. And she would go to LA, she'd come back, and I'm looking at her. I'm like, you're shotgunning beers. You're doing Jaeger shots. You're smoking weed. I'm like, well, is that really good for the baby? And I remember her like, oh, it's fine. I'm making money and we're going to go on a surf trip. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I like sat her. I'm like, you can't do this. This family like trusts you. They are like, you have a baby that you're trying to grow in your belly and you're partying. I mean, and they were partying. So you see other situations where people are doing it just for money. And if there's not a governing body that says, hey, you can't just like go farm it out and hey, I'll carry a kid to make money, because there has to be trust. There has to be
A
like
screening process.
a screening process.
How about a moral compass? How about we start?
Yeah,
with a moral
I don't think any of that is all a person making bad decisions, and there are contracts. I mean, if you enter into a surrogacy arrangement without a contract, you're crazy. And what do you do? Like if I found out that Kimberly had been, smoking crack, I mean, what could I have done? This is where you have to put your trust in God and some higher power out there that is going to protect you. Anything can be in writing, but everyone has to come from a good place. But I don't think saying that it's child trafficking or, the horrible words that were used by the Pope, when 99% of the time it's done for the right reasons. And guess what? If she wanted to go out and make money for a ski trip, more power to her. Like,
no, it was horrible. I was like, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not just also the Pope. It's like a handful of all the other, it's the Orthodox Jews, it's the Russians, it's
India.
Yeah.
Lots of countries,
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just when it came from him,
I agree.
Having gone to Catholic school, you're like, what? Well, like, you are pro-life. Well, guess what? We're creating life.
There's a perfect scenario and then there's an imperfect scenario. Like your scenario, you did everything right. You tried to give birth on your own. You tried to get pregnant. Your body wouldn't allow it. You tried to adopt. You did everything that you were supposed to do that led you to the end result. And you were, rewarded. And I also believe, from a religious standpoint, that, God has gifted people with intelligence and science and technology that allow us to do what we can do today. Do I think some of it is taken to the next level? Absolutely. Do I think some of it is for profit? It's everywhere, unfortunately. But I do think that if we are intelligent enough to be able to do what we do, and it allows us to procreate and put children into a home that is filled with love, I think that comes from above. I really do.
And there's no perfect with people. There's plenty of people that can have plenty of babies like on their own without any help, that like they're not the best parents.
They shouldn't be being parents either.
So who are we to say like what is right and wrong? Like I come back to like, let's have some moral compass and do the right thing and have, I agree with you, Krissy, like keep the government out of what I can do with my body. Like, and that's the bigger conversation that's happening in the US right now. It's not just surrogacy rights. It's reproductive rights. It's IVF. It's
The morning after
abortion.
pill.
I mean, it's really moving in a
Scary
in a troublesome way from a female perspective, when you care about the sanctity of life and then the sanctity of women choosing what that looks like on every level.
Yeah.
But think of all that. I have a handful of friends that all use surrogates. They've gone to sperm banks. They've gotten eggs.
Yeah.
And the joy that when they wake up and their child like holds their hand, you forget how they came about. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you have a soul who's your bestie, who's part of you inside and out. And it doesn't matter how they got there. And it's just, they're part of your family. So I mean, for me, I think it's incredible to hear your story. And I see the smiles on my friends' faces too, that you don't look at them and go, oh, they had a surrogate. You look at them like, oh, that's their daughter. That's their son. You don't,
Luca,
that is like being pregnant.
Luca looks just like his dad, and Revi Lefebvre looks just like her mom. I mean, they are.
People all the time like, oh my God, Rev looks just like you. And
She
I'm like,
does.
Yes. You make like you look like your best friends.
yeah.
How many times like
look like you look like your pet?
yeah.
look like my husband and my pet.
Well,
but
both stunning. So there you
Yeah.
go, too.
I mean, science is magical. Science is magical if you use it in the right way. I don't agree with choosing if you want a boy or girl. If you're doing IVF, I think that's really going above and beyond. But science is magical, and you just have to look above and say, hey, thanks for making this happen, and believe for it to happen, and do what it takes if you really want something and you want a baby. And I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to see them and go surfing.
Yeah, where are they?
Yes.
What's their
Yes.
guest experience?
Ravi.
I heard you were just in Malibu.
Yeah, we're going today. 3 days of surf camp.
All of the listeners out there, Rev is translated into the word dream in French. So that's her name.
I'm going to mute my mic so I can scream for them. Hold on one second.
Krissy's just an amazing story to have just all the universe come together when she walks in, sees you, and then Pat walks in the door. I mean, who wouldn't want the best for your best friend? I would do it for any of my friends. Well, not any of them. For if one of my good friends needed my eggs, and they're really old now, but
Pat didn't even question it. He just looked at me.
Of course
He's like,
not.
okay, what? He's
I
like,
mean, it literally was like a crickety screen door. Like, quack. I'm going to give Krissy and Ludo my eggs. Cool. Can I have a beer? I remember like yesterday.
I know, it was so funny. And you know what? So many people said to me, like, are you going to be okay with this? Like, aren't you like emotionally attached to your eggs? And to tell you the truth, I'm not emotionally attached to my eggs. Like, I know that they're my eggs, but I know that they were going to
Everybody wants to just say hi to the miracle that we made. Come here, baby. Just come here, baby. Do my hair. I will do your hair after.
Oh, Revi Lefebvre.
Hi, Revi.
Hi. That's Darian. That's Patrick's sister. So that's her.
Hi, sweetheart.
And that, Jen Berenius.
And who am I?
Farley. Oh, and look who else is here. Come here, Nikki.
I was known as the fairy godmother for a very long time.
Look, they can't see you. Say hi.
Hi,
There's
Ludo.
Nikki.
So big.
Oh my God, he looks just like Ludo.
I know.
Crazy.
How
So
pumped are you
adorable.
guys? I saw that you guys slept on the trampoline last night, sleepover, and now you're headed to Malibu for a little surf camp.
Yeah.
I mean, I want spring break again.
I know.
I want to go to Malibu on a surf camp right now.
And P.S., your mom rocks. I mean, she is the best, isn't she? I hope you guys tell her that all the time. I'm waiting.
No, I've been forbidden from taking photos of her any longer. They're horrible. Mom, stop. Like, at least get my good angle.
Wow.
I don't think you have a bad angle.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Ravi.
I don't think she does
You know
either.
what I'm saying? You.
Well, I think that hopefully, if anybody's on the fence out there and they're thinking about, taking the leap of faith, it works. We are proof in the
It
pudding.
works, but it's expensive. You got to get a good contract. I mean, you do. There's scary things in it, but that's for us to make those decisions. If anything is a risk in life that's worth it, like if you don't take chances, and if you've been out there and you've been suffering and you've thought about a surrogate, look, I've had one not great experience and one amazing experience. But the amazing experience happened when we brought Farley's eggs into the mix. I think that was the key, because I think mine were so traumatized because my eggs, because it was, they were taken during the cancer and it just been so much bad juju, and they weren't ready to be brought. They weren't meant to be brought into this world where, our angel Farley over there, hers were.
Happy.
You have two beautiful souls.
Tribute. Exactly.
What a beautiful story. I mean, thank you so much, Krissy, for sharing this.
You're welcome.
journey
Get
with
gritty when you want a baby. Get gritty.
Yeah.
let me
Get
tell
it.
ya.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
You are
Happen.
the perfect first guest for us to have. And yes, I couldn't have thought of a better person. So love you, Pooh.
Thank you so much, Krissy.
girls.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Girls Gone Gritty. Tune in next week and we'll have some more incredible shows for you down the pipeline.
If you are interested in seeing some pictures from our journey, please, go to Instagram or our website.
Have a good day. Peace out.
Peace out, people.